This is a speech that sits at the crossroads of sports, technology, and finance, entitled Mapping College Athletics for Capital in a Post-House versus NCAA World. Good morning. My name is John Fremont-Smith. I am the founder of Friends Wealth Management, a Maryland registered investment advisor. I am an investment advisor representative and I hold the Series 65 license. Before I begin, I want to be precise. This is a market structure conversation. This is not a promise of return. This is not investment advice to the general public. Any investment opportunity discussed by Friends Wealth Management would be available only through proper offering materials, legal review, investor qualification, and verification where required. Now let me tell you why I'm here. For more than 100 years, there has really been one way for fans and alumni to support the schools they love. Donate, give the money away, write the check, hope it helps. That model built college athletics, it built stadiums, it built scholarships, it built locker rooms, it built traditions, it built Saturdays, it built memories that families carry for generations. But we asked a different question. What if the people who love these schools could do more than donate? What if they could lend? What if fans, alumni, former athletes, donors, local businesses, family offices, and eligible investors could help finance university-approved athletic needs at the university's direction, on the university's terms, with counsel involved, with transparent documentation, and with the possibility of repayment, revenue, or return of capital where appropriate? That is the idea. Fans can cheer with their wallets, not through chaos, not through back rooms, not through secret booster deals, through infrastructure. That is what Friends Wealth Management is building. We call the category athletic credit markets. And I believe athletic credit markets may become one of the most important missing pieces of financial infrastructure in American sports. Let me say that plainly. We are not here because House versus NCAA happened. We are here because before House made the problem obvious, we were already building toward the answer. The question was always simple. Where does the money come from? Not the headlines, not the slogans, not the outrage, the money. Where does the next dollar come from to support athletes, football, basketball, women's sports, Olympic sports, facilities, travel, training, bands, fan experience, scholarships, and the broader university community? For more than a century, the answer was philanthropy. And philanthropy still matters. Donors still matter. Development offices still matter. Alumni still matter. Boosters still matter. Fans still matter. But the pressure has changed. The old playbook is not enough by itself anymore. And when the pressure changes, the capital tools have to change. That is the whole conversation. Now, I know this audience. Some of you understand sports capital better than almost anyone in the country. Some of you have owned teams. Some of you have financed teams. Some of you have backed stadiums, bought media rights, built sports technology, invested in private equity, private credit, real estate, secondaries, gaming, media, and fan engagement. A lot of you have played. A lot of you have coached. A lot of you have sat in the stands with your kids. A lot of you know exactly what a locker room teaches that a spreadsheet never can. So I'm not here to tell you sports is investable. You already know that. Professional sports capital has already institutionalized team ownership, media rights, stadium real estate, sports technology, fan engagement, private equity, private credit. That market is already here. But college athletics is different. College athletics is not the NFL. It is not the NBA. It is not Formula One. It is not a European football club. College athletics is university governed, donor driven, politically visible, emotionally tribal, athlete sensitive, Title IX sensitive, counsel heavy, development dependent, compliance constrained, and now, after House versus NCAA, capital pressured in a way it has never been before. That is the gap. That is the opportunity. And that is why Friends Wealth Management exists. Let me walk through the history quickly. Not like a lawyer, like a person. It starts with Ed O'Bannon. Ed O'Bannon was not a legal theory. He was a star on UCLA's national championship basketball team. Years later, he saw himself in an EA Sports College basketball video game. His face, his body, his game. And he had never agreed to it. He had never been paid for it. That moment made a simple question impossible to ignore. How can a billion-dollar system create commercial value from athletes while the athletes themselves are locked out of that value? That case cracked the old amateurism model. Then came Alston. Alston was not a town. It was a case brought by Division I athletes challenging NCAA limits on education-related benefits. In 2021, the Supreme Court ruled against the NCAA, 9-0, unanimous. That was another crack in the foundation. Then NIL arrived, name, image, and likeness. 3 words that most normal people still do not really understand. Here's the plain version. NIL means athletes can finally be paid for the commercial use of who they are. Their name, their face, their brand, their audience, their value. That was good. Athletes deserve that opportunity. But here's the problem. The NCAA's old prohibitions against pay-for-play and improper recruiting inducements did not disappear. So college athletics walked straight into a contradiction. Athletes could earn. Schools still had rules. States passed different laws. Federal law lagged. Boosters organized. Collectives appeared. Money moved. And the market moved faster than the infrastructure. Let me be clear. I am not here to kick collectives in the shins. Collectives filled a vacuum. Some helped athletes. Some gave families life-changing money. Some were created because the old system had no better answer. But the vacuum is the point. When there are no rails, money finds its own path. Backroom deals, NDA-driven arrangements, informal booster pressure, recruiting dressed up as market activity, families trying to make life-changing decisions without clean information, coaches trying to hold rosters together, development officers trying to raise money while the donor conversation changes underneath them, athletic directors trying to fund a new era with old tools. That was the NIL era before House. Then came House. And no, House is not Congress. House is a person. Grant House, a swimmer at Arizona State, put his name on a class action that challenged the NCAA compensation model. In June 2025, the House settlement received final approval. Beginning July 1st, 2025, participating schools could directly share revenue with athletes under an inaugural cap of roughly $20.5 million per school for the 2025 to 2026 year, with that cap set to rise at least 4% per year over the 10-year term. That is not just an athlete compensation story. That is a capital structure story. House did not just change how athletes get paid. House changed the financial architecture of college athletics. Now every athletic department has to answer the question that no one can dodge anymore. Where does the next dollar come from? Athlete revenue sharing, roster economics, facilities, training, travel, coaching, compliance, women's sports, Olympic sports, football, basketball, bands, fan experience, premium seating, debt service, media, conference competitiveness. Where does the next dollar come from? You can ask donors for more. You can cut sports. You can borrow traditionally. You can sell assets. You can bring in private capital. You can pray Congress solves it. Or you can build a new market. We chose the last one. That is athletic credit markets, a new financial and technology infrastructure category designed to help universities organize capital around approved athletic needs, not to replace philanthropy, to sit beside philanthropy, not to attack private equity, to give universities another structure, not to roll back athlete rights, to help finance the new world athlete rights created. Now look at what is already happening. Utah approved a first-of-its-kind private capital partnership involving Otro Capital, with public reporting describing more than $500 million in potential capital and a structure intended to preserve university control over athletics decisions. The Big 12 approved a 5-year strategic partnership with Redbird Capital and Weatherford Capital through Collegiate Athletic Solutions. Public reporting describes an opt-in capital line of roughly $30 million per school with no equity stake in the conference. And notice the shape of that structure, an opt-in capital line, drawn and repaid against future revenue. In plain terms, that is credit. A landmark conference capital arrangement includes, as one of its central features, an athletic credit facility. That is not a coincidence. That is the market telling you where it wants to go. Private equity is not the villain of this story. Private credit is not the villain of this story. Institutional capital is not the villain of this story. Capital is already coming. The only question is whether it comes in a way universities can defend. Who controls it? Who approves it? Who explains it to council? Who explains it to the board? Who protects the athlete? Who respects the development office? Who keeps the university in charge? Who gives investors a structure they can diligence? Who gives fans a way to participate without turning the whole thing into chaos? That is the lane we are building in. Not against the capital in this room, alongside it. Friends Wealth Management is building athletic credit markets through FRAX, Friends Athletic Credit Strategies. FRAX is our proposed capital rail. At a high level, FRAX is a governance-first framework for university-approved athletic needs. The university decides the need. The university decides the priority. The university sets the direction. The university's council reviews the structure. The appropriate board or governance body reviews what it needs to review. The development office stays aligned. The use of proceeds is clear. The structure is documented. The risks are disclosed. Eligible capital participates only under proper documentation. Reporting exists. Conflicts are identified. And compliance is built into the design from day one. That is the difference. This is not booster chaos with a better logo. It is not a blank check. It is not about control. It is not private capital trying to run a campus. It is infrastructure. If approved and properly documented, certain structures may include repayment, revenue, or return of capital pathways, but only where legally reviewed, institutionally approved, fully disclosed, and appropriate for the specific university-approved need. That is how you let fans participate without asking them only to give the money away. That is how you let alumni support a facility, a team, a women's sport, an Olympic sport, or a revenue project with more than a donation. That is how you begin to silo capital around football, basketball, women's basketball, baseball, hockey, volleyball, Olympic sports, bands, facilities, research, and other university priorities over time. Think about what that means. For the first time in a transparent, university-directed structure, the people who love a school may be able to lend to the future of that school. Cheer with your wallet. That is not a tagline to us. That is the category. And it is deeply American. America has always solved impossible problems with infrastructure. Railways, electrical grids, plumbing, highways, capital markets, community banks, municipal bonds, credit systems. We build the rails and then people move. We build the grid and then the lights come on. we build the pipes, and then the water flows. College athletics is standing at one of those moments. The passion exists, the loyalty exists, the capital exists, the need exists. The problem is the infrastructure. That is what we are building. There is also a personal echo here for me. More than 200 years ago, Alexander J. Dallas served as Secretary of the Treasury after the War of 1812, at a moment when the country had to rebuild its financial credibility and use credit to move forward. I am not comparing college sports to a war, and I'm not standing here because of my family history. But I do understand something in my bones. When a system breaks, America builds new financial infrastructure. That is what this moment requires. But capital alone is not enough. If you're going to build a market, you need data, you need ratings, you need intelligence, you need a system people can use. I spent more than 30 years in NASA data systems, 3 decades around complex systems, data architecture, and disciplined signal extraction. At NASA, the work is not hype, it is not vibes, it is not guessing. It is mapping complexity carefully enough that better decisions can be made. Nathan spent his career helping map complexity from space. Now he is helping map college athletics for capital. That is the technology side of Friends Wealth Management. We are building 2 core models, AIP and RR. AIP is the Athlete Intelligence Profile. Think of it as a FICO-like signal for athlete opportunity, not a consumer credit score, not a guarantee, not a substitute for human judgment, consent, privacy review, NIL review, agent law review, university compliance, or legal oversight. But a decision support model, performance, role trajectory, marketability, social reach, engagement, reputation, commercial fit, compliance risk, coachability, conduct, institutional fit, talent matters. Of course, talent matters. But in this economy, talent is not the whole profile. Value is shaped by trust, loyalty, geography, fan connection, reputation, commercial relevance, and the kind of person a program is willing to stand behind. That is AIP. R is the risk assessment rating. Think of it as a Moody's-like lens for athletic departments. Not a formal credit rating, not a nationally recognized statistical rating organization, not a guarantee, a proprietary decision support model, revenue resilience, ticket demand, donor dependency, facility investment, coaching stability, conference position, debt profile, endowment support, capital need, governance discipline, commitment to women's sports and Olympic sports. If capital is going to support athletic departments, the market needs a disciplined way to evaluate athletic departments. Not emotionally, not because somebody loves the school, not because a fan base is loud, with data, judgment, context, governance, and transparency. AIP evaluates athlete opportunity. R evaluates athletic department risk and capital readiness. Frax gives the capital a rail. Together, we believe these can become a Bloomberg-like intelligence layer for the next era of college athletics. Not Bloomberg, not FICO, not Moody's. Those are analogies. But the direction is real. A data layer, a capital layer, a governance layer, a reporting layer, a market layer. That is the company. Now let me tell you why I believe we are the team to build it. I am not a consultant studying this from the balcony. I played. I got hurt. I came back. I know what it means to have your identity tied to a team, a school, a coach, a locker room, and a season. I know what it means when a university matters to a family. I also know capital. I was a trader for Fidelity at the World Trade Center during the dot-com era when the internet was changing the markets in real time. I learned what it feels like when speed, information, fear, greed, and opportunity all hit the tape at once. I worked across Wall Street asset management, wirehouses, registered investment advisors, family offices, portfolio managers, analysts, chief executives, chief investment officers, and institutional sales teams. I saw products get built. I saw products get sold. I saw products get rejected. I saw what advisors fear when their reputation is on the line. I saw what capital does when the story is good but the structure is weak. I saw what happens in a credit crisis. I saw what happens when markets move faster than people's ability to explain them. I managed client relationships through a pandemic when trust was not a slogan. It was the business. Then I left the big firms to build this. Not because it was easy, because I could not unsee the problem. College athletics was becoming a capital market before most people had the language for it. And Nathan and I started building before House made the whole country look. This has been 3 years of building, breaking, rebuilding, and getting hit in the mouth by reality. Early mornings, late nights, legal work, fund work, technology work, regulatory language, university conversations, investor questions, athlete questions, development questions, hard conversations, personal sacrifice, financial sacrifice, the kind of sacrifice where people around you start asking if you are crazy, and maybe category builders always look a little crazy before the category shows up. But every mistake sharpened the model. Every legal concern improved the language. Every investor question strengthened the structure. Every university conversation made it more real. Every athlete concern reminded us why this cannot be another black box. We did not build this because it was obvious. We built it because it was necessary. Now let me name the market gap. By its May 2026 update, the College Sports Commission had cleared roughly $242 million in third-party NIL deals since its review platform launched. That sounds like a big number, but credible reporting and market estimates suggest the broader NIL economy is much larger, several times larger. And much of that activity may sit outside the clean official reporting channels. So what does that tell you? It tells you the official system is seeing part of the market. The market itself is bigger. That gap is not just a compliance problem, it is a data problem, a reporting problem, a governance problem, a capital markets problem. When a market is big, emotional, fast-moving, undermodeled, underreported, and institutionally important, what does Wall Street usually do? It builds infrastructure. That is what we are doing. And we are not asking the room to believe we have already won. We are asking the room to understand that the category is forming now, not 5 years from now. Now. Professional sports capital has already institutionalized. College athletics is next. The question is whether that future gets built with hype and chaos or with capital rails, data, governance, university control, athlete alignment, and serious investors. That is why we are opening controlled seed round conversations with qualified prospective investors. This is not an offer to the general public. This is not a promise of return. Any investment would be made only through appropriate offering materials, investor qualification, verification where required, disclosures, and legal review. But I want to be direct about the invitation. We are not looking for passive money that wants to watch from the stands. We are looking for aligned capital, people who understand sports, people who understand credit, people who understand universities, people who understand technology, people who understand that the first rails in a new market are rarely obvious while they are being built. This is the moment before the category becomes obvious. If you are an athletic director, the ask is not to sign anything today. The ask is to bring us one university-approved need worth studying with athletics, development, finance, compliance, and counsel. If you are a venture investor or strategic investor, the ask is not to take my word for it. The ask is to diligence whether athletic credit markets becomes a category before the category becomes obvious. If you are private equity, private credit, a family office, an asset manager, or an advisor, the ask is not to suspend your skepticism. The ask is to bring your discipline early. Because if this category is built correctly, it should include serious capital, serious counsel, serious universities, serious data, serious investors, and people who understand that college athletics is not just another balance sheet. It is identity, it is community, it is opportunity, it is education, it is competition, it is memory, it is belonging. And now it is also a capital markets problem. For over 100 years, fans were told there was only one way to help: give. We asked a different question. What if they could lend? What if the people who love these schools could finance the next generation of athletes, facilities, teams, and university priorities through transparent, university-directed capital rails? What if the future of college athletics is not solved only in Washington, not solved only by private equity, not solved only by television contracts, and not solved only by asking donors for more? What if the future is solved by the communities that built college sports in the first place? Fans, alumni, former athletes, families, local businesses, investors, people who care, organized properly, documented properly, reviewed properly, governed properly. That is the American story. We see a problem. We build the bridge, we build the rails, we build the grid, we build the market. Friends Wealth Management is mapping college athletics for capital. We are building athletic credit markets. We are building the financial and technology infrastructure for the next era of college athletics. And if we are right, the smartest people in this room will want to understand this before the first school makes it obvious. Cheer with your wallet. Thank you.